It is April 30th, and you're watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. Boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to dissect today. Of course, we're going to talk NHL playoffs. We already know a matchup for round two. A lot of series are close to being over. We're going to talk about the AHL playoffs as well, because the Laval Rocket played game one at Place Belle yesterday, and we're victorious. We're going to dissect that game. We're also going to talk about the CHL playoffs, which are well underway. We're almost at the finals for each league, for each of the three leagues. So that's going to be exciting. The Men's World Championships, Canada has announced a few players going. Some surprises, maybe not. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the U18 Championship. Canada's out. They're out. They're not even in the semifinals. We'll talk about the teams who are and why Canada isn't. Snake's got a hot take. We've got 3 mailbag questions. Woo! Big show ahead. It all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back, everybody. Producer Shayne here, joined as always by my co-host Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling?
Doing fine, Shayne. And you?
Excellent. I'm excellent. It's the best time of the year for hockey. It's when it matters most. It's when you find these unlikely heroes and these great storylines, and this is the best. So I'm fortunate to be able to talk about it all with you on this show. I look forward to every Monday, every Thursday, and I hope you all are as well. If you're not subscribed yet, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started here. We're just getting started. The playoffs, that's the tip of the iceberg. Once the season's over, we're dissecting the draft and all that comes with it. By the way, the draft lottery is May 5th. That's coming up pretty soon. So we're going to talk about that as well. But today, Snake, we're focused on playoffs. Of course, a lot of people watching are going to want to hear about last night's game in Tampa Bay. Montreal Canadiens take it 3-2 again. 4 of the 5 games have ended 3-2, which is insane. But this series has been insanely close, really. There's no margin for error. And Snake, do you think the better team is leading the series right now?
Well, to be honest, yeah. I do think that the Habs played better overall. I think they would deserve to win the series. Mm-hmm. But I've never seen a series that's been so close every game.
Ridiculous.
Every game. Because the playoffs are about close games, obviously. But there's always a game where at some point some team will win, 5-1 or something every game. And like you said, 4 of the 5 games ending 3-2. And with always either overtime or someone trying to tie the score at the end of the game.
1 goal difference every time.
I think what impressed me the most about the Habs yesterday is how they defended in the last 3-4 minutes of the game when Tampa Bay pulled the goalie, and they were really overwhelmed in their zone. But they did a good job because I don't think Tampa Bay came really close to tying the score when you think about it. They had lots of shots on goal.
Yeah.
Dobesh did a good job. But the way they were positioned, the Habs were positioned, they never gave Tampa Bay the opportunity really to have an open net, let's say.
That's it.
When they shot, whether it be Kucherov or Radish or every other guy that was there. I know it was probably nerve-wracking for Habs fans, but when you think about it, it's not as if they really came close.
No, that's it.
And they did come close in the third period when Kucherov missed the open net.
Oh boy. Yeah. That was
And
that
then
was
the
bad.
Habs scored. And then the Habs scored. I think that was really the turning point in the game. I'm not saying the Habs would not have tied it up, but the point is it would have been 3-2 Lightning instead.
Yeah.
So I think it's very close. But look, you were talking about unsung heroes. Look, Brendan Gallagher coming back. He was well rested. He scores on his first shift. That's what it is. That's what the playoffs are about very often.
Exactly.
And it's not the guys you expect. And when we do all these playoff analysis, before the start of the playoffs, we always focus, on the stars and the first line and the first pairing and the goalies. Goalies are important. But I'm just saying that often it's third and fourth liners that do it because the style of play is very different and it gives them an opportunity to shine more than during the regular season when play is a little bit more wide open. And then and talented players can show their skills more than in the playoffs, which explains why, the Habs first line has been very, very, very quiet at 5-on-5 since the beginning of this series.
Yeah, Suzuki has 1 point, 5-on-5, and that's it.
Yeah,
the other two don't. But Snake, I mean, this is why I mentioned the unlikely heroes off the top of the show. I mean, that third line now, right? Doc, Texier, Bolduc. If I had told you before the series that they would have been the best line for the Habs in this series through 5 games, I mean, no one would have believed me.
Well, each player on that line has been pretty much vilified by fans at one point or the other. I mean, Doc. Many fans were claiming for St. Louis to bench him, put him on the press box after, I think, game 2. Texier has been in and out of the lineup because, Alex Texier, in my opinion, and I'm the first one to admit, I always thought he was a regular season player. He was inconsistent in the sense that he was streaky, and then in the playoffs, he would have zero impact. But so far, he's been good. And Bolduc, after a hot start in October, again, many observers were disappointed because they were expecting much more of him based on what he did with the Blues last year. But I think with the Blues last year in the playoffs, he kind of struggled, but he probably gained some experience, some valuable experience that is good for him right now.
That's it. Well, it's going to be interesting to follow Game 6, Friday night at the Bell Center. I can't even begin to imagine what that atmosphere is going to look like. I know Tony is going to swing by there, actually. He's going to be at the watch party outside of the Bell Center. Not the whole game, I don't think, but I know he's going to be there. So you want to tune in to the post-game show to hear his thoughts about that. But Snake, there are other series going on that we need to talk about. And the first one would be the following matchup in round 2 for whoever wins that series between the Habs and the Lightning. Buffalo-Boston. Now, Buffalo's got a 3-2 lead in the series. They were at 3-1. But Boston stayed alive there in overtime thanks to David Pastrnak. But do you think this one goes all the way to 7, or does Buffalo wrap it up here?
Well, it just might, because the series going back to Boston's for Game 6. But I still think Buffalo's going to win. I think they have a better team. But kudos to Boston, because they really pray hard. And they, like we often say on the show, they have a tendency to resurrect players. Players come out of the ashes, for them. So, look, I think just the fact that they made the playoffs and took it at least to Game 6 is really a feat. And I think they're only going to get better because they have some good prospects waiting in the wings. So, but I think Buffalo has a better team, and I still see Buffalo coming out of the division. However, my only concern about Buffalo is that it's a very inexperienced team in the playoffs. And historically, it's very rare that inexperienced teams in the playoffs make it very far the first time around. So if the Habs win and they face Buffalo, they do have a chance.
Oh, yeah.
I think Buffalo maybe is has a better defense core, but in net, I'm not sure Buffalo has the better goalie.
Yeah.
So look, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. I think Buffalo actually has a better chance of beating Tampa than they do Montreal.
Interesting.
I
like that take.
We're talking about matchups,
Yeah.
I think they have a better chance. They must be rooting for Tampa right now. If I were a Sabres fan, I would be rooting for Tampa.
No, I agree with you. And before the series, I had actually picked Boston in 6. So I'm going to probably eat my words here, but I really thought goaltending was going to be a bigger factor in this series. I thought Jeremy Swayman was like significantly above either what Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen or Alex Lyon could offer Buffalo. But credit to Alex Lyon. You know what? He came in relief for UPL, who I accurately predicted would not be a factor in this series. Alex Lyon has done a great job for Buffalo.
But he was good this year. He was good at some point this year. He had a very good sequence. He had a very good sequence. As for goaltending, I do agree with you that Swayman was a big advantage over UPL. However, Montreal has a better offense than Boston does.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Boston's offense being quite so, outside of Pasternak and maybe Geeky because he scores a lot of goals. Them not being as dangerous, I think it's how can I put it? It's I forgot what I was going to say, but meaning that Montreal has a better chance because having a better offense, they could score a lot of goals against UPL. That's what I meant.
That's it. But no, credit to Alex Lyon. Look, I doubted him because he hasn't really accomplished a ton, right? He's mostly been a backup in his career, but you know what? He's risen to the occasion so far. So he's making me eat my words. Good on him for that. Snake, the the other 2 series in the East are over. So we already know for a second round matchup here, Carolina, Philadelphia. You want to preview that one a little bit?
Well, Philadelphia. I know Pittsburgh is not a powerhouse, but they still did a great job. And like I said, I do respect Carolina, but I don't know. There's something about that team that doesn't really excite me. So I think it's going to be closer than some people think. I don't think Carolina is going to sweep Philadelphia. And I don't know. I really don't know who's going to win. I just think that it's going to be very close, and don't count out Philly.
No. Talk about a goaltending battle. I mean, arguably the 2 best goalies in the first round were Freddie Anderson and Dan Vladar, and they get to face each other here in round 2.
But we don't know what's going to happen in the second round.
Exactly.
Because again, these guys have a checkered history. It's not like Anderson was good his entire career, although he was good overall. Vladar, who knows? I mean,
he's a backup
and that's why with goaltending, and many years ago, I was saying that I said something that was quite misunderstood. I said, "Who cares about goaltending?" And I didn't explain it well. What I meant is, who cares about names? Goaltending is extremely important, but it's not because you have a name in front of the net that this guy will necessarily outperform an unknown who might be on a hot streak. And that's why it's very hard to predict. I mean, Vladar, that's not a name, but he's been great.
Yeah, he was a backup last year in Calgary.
Yeah.
But credit to him now. He's taken the starter job in Philly and ran with it. He's been really good. So that's going to be a fun series now.
Yeah.
Over to the West.
Oh, boy.
One series is over, which we all knew it was going to be. Colorado gets to second round, but they're going to be facing either the Minnesota Wild or the Dallas Stars. Now, Minnesota leads that series 3-2. This is one that could go 7 easily. Yeah. And with either team that comes out of that one is going to be battered. Like, that is a war of a series.
Oh, that's a war. I mean, we're recording this on Thursday, so the 6th game hasn't taken place yet. But Minnesota's going back home with a 3-2 lead. There's the chance to wrap it up, because if they go back to Dallas, it's going to be hard. But either way, although it's going to be, this should be the conference final, actually, against Colorado. It should not be the quarterfinal round. It should be the conference finals. That's the way the system goes. I mean, you can't change a system just because of 1 year where one division is much weaker. But still, it kind of sucks that they don't go 1 to 8, because then you would avoid these types of matchups too early in the playoffs. Yeah. That being said, I do think Colorado is going to win. I think they're going all the way to the Stanley Cup final and win the Stanley Cup. My take on this. It was my pick in September, and it still is my pick even more than it was in September. I think they have a team, if you consider the salary cap restrictions, I think they have a team that is almost perfectly built. It's an almost flawless team, almost. So, players seem to be healthy. And don't discount Landeskog. He hadn't played for 3 years, and he came back. That's quite a comeback. I mean, a lot of people sometimes talk about, comebacks, like Guy Lafleur did after 3 years. Mario Lemieux did after 3 years. In basketball, at some point, Michael Jordan came back.
After playing baseball, yeah.
No, after retiring from Chicago, he came back to Washington when he owned the team or something. But Landeskog, I mean, he never retired, but he was out for 3 years. That's a lifetime in hockey. So look, I do think that it's still going to be a good series. But like you say, Colorado is going to get 10 days off. That's absolutely magical during the playoffs.
Monumental.
10 days off. Maybe the first game you're going to be rusty, but then afterwards they can cruise through this.
They're going to have their lunch.
Yeah. So that's so there's one. Well, there's 2 series left in the Western Division, the Great Pacific Division.
Oh man, the Pacific this year is just.
But they're fun teams.
Sure.
They're fun teams to watch. I like watching. I like watching this stuff. I mean, lots of goals, and I mean, there's talent. There's talent. It's just that there's no structure. There's no defense.
No goaltending.
No goaltending.
Oh my
God! Edmonton, Anaheim. It's fun. I like watching them.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Anaheim going back home tonight. Again, it's recording this on Thursday.
3-2 lead.
If they close the series tonight, it's not going to be. It's going to be ugly in Edmonton.
Big time.
Yeah,
big time. Heads will roll. Major changes coming. The Oilers want to stave off elimination tonight in Anaheim, but easier said than done when you have Tristan Jarry or Connor Ingram in net. Good luck with that. That's all I'll say.
Unless they played like Vladar tonight,
Who knows?
Yeah,
like you say, goaltending isn't about the name. It's about the performance you give at any given night. So, anything's possible, I guess, but unlikely. Vegas, Utah. Now, Vegas won in double overtime yesterday to give them a 3-2 lead in the series. A very good series. I've been pleasantly surprised by this one. Utah's been right in it. Like they're giving Vegas a run for their money. I've liked the way they've been playing. Do you think Utah has a chance to get this one to 7 and win it?
I think they have a chance to get this one to 7, but I think Vegas will win.
Yeah.
I had Vegas at the beginning of the series. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I still had Vegas. I would be surprised if Utah won. Again, it's their first time in the playoffs in years. So next year they'll be stronger. But this year, I think the run ends there, and Vegas will continue. Will probably come out of the division, but it's not going to be, the Golden Knights of the past, Well, of the past, of the first few years that they were in the league, especially when they won the Stanley Cup. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're not as strong now. They're not as strong. And Mitch Marner is proving again that he's not really a great playoff performer. So We'll see. So Colorado, Vegas, I would think on one side, Colorado winning. It's murkier on the other side. Eastern Conference, it was very tight throughout the year. If you look at the standings, and so very hard to predict.
That's it.
Could be the Habs. You never know. Could be the Habs.
Genuinely, like, I mean, it's
you can't
open.
really count them out. Yeah, you can't count them out. I mean, if they were on the other side, if they were in Colorado's division, I would say bye. But in the Colorado is not in the same class as the Habs. But in the Eastern Conference, you never know. You never know. There might be hockey in June here. You never know.
Wow, the whole province just stood up there. That would be something special.
It would be more special than 2021 because of the circumstances. First of all, no one expected the Habs to be there. They finished 18th overall in the standings, but they were in that weird Canadian division that played 56 games, and then there were no spectators at the beginning of the playoffs in Montreal, and it was all strange. 2021 was a very, very strange year, probably the strangest year in my whole existence, and I'm 60 years old. But now, if they went far in the playoffs, it would be really genuine. I mean, with all these watch parties and ticket prices, basically shattering records at the Bell Center on whatever reseller's website.
You could buy a used car with
probably
one ticket to go to the Bell Center. Oh, it's crazy. Well, look, if the folks watching don't have the funds or don't want to spend those funds to go watch the Habs, guess what? You can go watch the Laval Rocket play in the playoffs, and they are very, very good. They won their first game of their series against the Marlies yesterday, 3-1. Goals by Florian Jacquet, Joshua Roy, and Samuel Blais. It's going to be an interesting series, Snake. Those are two teams that hate each other, and I mean that. I genuinely mean that. They hate each other. We've spoken, myself, Tony, and whatnot. We've spoken to a few players, and they're pumped for this one. But it's going to be a very good series too. Like the Marlies are a good team. The Rocket obviously won the North Division, so they're not bad. But the Rocket are without Adam Engstrom and Jacob Fowler.
Yeah.
So, do you think that has any impact on the series?
Well, I have a few takes about yesterday's games, which I watched, and I think the lines are interesting. They're well balanced. You have a line with Farrell, Beck, and Roy, and Roy was very good yesterday. He had a very good game. And there's a tough line with Florian, Luke Duck, and Tyler Thorpe. That's a tough line. And, these guys can play. These guys can play. Florian had a nice goal. Thorpe had a couple of chances. Benzin Dauphin Blais. Blais is basically hitting every moving target around.
Yeah.
And Benzin and Dauphin, they are very talented players. So they lead the way. And another line that they put together was Condotta, Davidson, and Rohrer.
I don't hate that at all.
Yeah. So that's the situation. On defense, I like Middlestat yesterday. He was playing with Ron Docker.
Yeah.
You can tell that he's an experienced college player because the transition was pretty seamless. I don't know if what his ceiling is. I don't know if he can reach the NHL, but at least for Laval, he's been very good so far. Delgado was playing with Trudeau. That's very reliable. And Bisson was playing at Didier. And Kakkonen and net. Kakkonen, I mean, look, they're fine. The Habs are fine with Kakkonen. I mean, I prefer Fowler, but they're fine. I mean, he reached the finals last year with the Charlotte Checkers. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Fowler's absence is a problem, really. It would just be a plus if he came back at some point. Engstrom, I think Engstrom would be a big boost to the Laval Rocket. But, now they just have to win series. Wait and see what happens with the Habs. And if at some point they get these guys back, good for them. If not, I think they can have a good run because they really they were a much better team than Toronto yesterday. And it was I was looking at the stands, and there were empty seats because the Habs were playing, but it was still a good crowd. And
sure.
Friday, they're playing again on Friday. It's very strange the way the AHL has scheduled these games. It's kind of weird that they, the farm team and the big league team is playing at the same time, when basically there's leeway with this. I mean, especially that on Friday there was supposed to be a concert at Place Belle. The Triumph concert was postponed to June 10th because of that. Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Habs game have priority over a concert that was scheduled, a year ago or 6 months ago. So it's kind of strange. But anyway, I think it sucks for fans who don't have two screens and would like to watch both. But at Trust the Process, we also watched the Laval game for you guys while the Habs are playing.
We've got you covered here, of course. Snake, one important lineup decision that I kind of mentioned on our last show. I said that one player who I'm going to keep an eye on in this series was Philip Meshar. Well, guess what? Not playing. He's not playing. He's out of the lineup, right? And I said this would be like a lifeline for him. If he produces in the playoffs, then you know what? He has a chance to further his career. This is what we're talking about. Not even make the NHL, further his career. He's not even playing, Snake.
Look, next year is his third year. Last year of the entry-level contract. I doubt the Habs will keep him, or that he'll simply want to stay, because he'll probably get offers in Europe that are more lucrative than what he makes in Laval. That would be logical for him if he wants to have a 10, 15-year career, to go back to Europe, make decent money. Because in the NHL, I mean, the only thing is he's a first-round pick.
That's it.
And I think before sending him off to Europe, the Habs should still shop him around. I mean, obviously it's going to be a diminished return. They're not going to get a first-round pick for him. But even if you get a fourth-round pick or a third-round pick or something, you never know how GMs and chief scouts perceive players they used to like in junior hockey. We've seen this over and over. First-round draft picks have 9 lives.
Yeah.
And some of them have taken advantage of it. If you look at a guy like Michael McCarron. Michael McCarron had 9 lives because he was a first-round pick.
And he's big.
And he's big. That helps. Meshar he's not a bottom 6 player. But still, and at some point, McCarron found a niche in Nashville, and he's making, he's making NHL money, and he has job security. So you never know how another GF might perceive Meshar. But so far, he hasn't done anything to prove that he was NHL caliber. And again, it's harder for these guys to become NHLers because they are not bottom 6 material.
Yeah. And
bottom 6 players, there's more turnover, and they're cheaper. They come cheaper. So, sometimes you also become stronger. You can become a little bit faster, and you develop that expertise, if I may say. Whereas if you're just a player who dangles, and if you're not going to produce, who's going to pick you to play on their top 6? It's
going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. So he better have a good season next year if he wants to remain in the under the NHL radar.
That's it. I mean, to me, it's a pretty good indicator that Vincent's Rohrer, who came at the very end of the season, played one regular season game with the Laval Rocket, has a roster spot in the playoffs ahead of Meshar, who was there all year.
It's all about role.
Is incredibly telling.
He has a role. He's a pest.
So, it's unfortunate. You know what? I've spoken with Philip before, and he's a great guy. Wish him all the best. He's obviously very talented. It just,
well, like I said, these if he goes back to Europe, he can be a productive player and make good money. So it's not like his hockey career is over. It's just that his NHL hopes are
Slim.
Are slim now. Yeah.
Slim. Anyways, that's it for game 1 of the Laval Rocket against the Toronto Marlies. But the series continues Friday and Sunday. So guess what? On Monday, we're going to be talking about that a lot more. Moving along, Snake, the CHL playoffs are well underway. We already have a sweep in the semifinals. Everett over Pentington 4-0, but all the other series are mostly tight. In the OHL, it's 3-1 Kitchener, 3-1 Brantford, but in the Q, it's 2-2, 2-2.
Well, it was going to be the closest series. Obviously, Rouen is a very, very tough team to play against. We played against them in round 1. They beat us 4-3. We took them down to the final game. I think Chicoutimi has probably a better team on paper.
Yeah,
but let's not count out that Rouen's regular season wins and losses are a little bit, how can I say? It's a little bit misleading because they didn't have a good start. So they actually had a very good team after Christmas. So I think it's not surprising. Boisbriand, Moncton, there's going to be game 6 in Boisbriand, those in the Montreal area.
Yeah.
There's no Habs game on Sunday afternoon, 3:00 in Boisbriand. Should be a dandy. Moncton has some very good players, some future NHL players. So does Boisbriand. Probably 5 or 6 guys on the ice that will most probably play in the NHL at some point. Everett is a juggernaut. They're my pick to get to the Memorial Cup, led by Lyndon Dupont, possible number 1 pick overall in 2027. Medicine Hat, that was kind of interesting the other night. I don't know if you saw this on the social media, but they invited Gavin McKenna.
I did see that.
That was strange. The guy leaves and they invite him back. So I guess there was no bad blood between those two. They understood that, McKenna was getting $750,000 US to go play in the NCAA. Yeah. And he wouldn't be back in junior hockey next year anyway, because he'll probably be in the NHL unless he goes back to Penn State or transfers. Well, although he's not in the transfer portal, so I wouldn't think so. As for Brantford, I think they are the best team in the Ontario Hockey League. They are a juggernaut. I'm surprised Barrie won 1 game. Kitchener is good, so should be Brantford, Kitchener. I checked. I know that TSN is broadcasting every game in the final series of all 3 leagues starting next week.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, on the nights that the Habs are not playing or you guys don't feel like watching the NHL, there's going to be very, very good hockey games being shown on TV.
Amazing stuff. Yeah. Snake, now we're going to be talking about the draft very soon, and there are a lot of draft eligible players in these series. Overall in the CHL playoffs as a whole, which player or players do you think have improved their draft stock the most?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I would wait until the finals are done with to tell you, because I'll tell you why. Because the first 2 rounds were quite easy rounds for a lot of players.
Yeah.
And so that's why I would wait a little bit before I can pass judgment on this. Also, there are not that many high draft picks, I would say, that were in the CHL playoffs this year. Not many of them. A lot of them are 16 and they're going to be eligible next year, like Lyndon Dupont. And a lot of guys have already been drafted, like Jake O'Brien in Brantford and
Justin
Carbonneau, exactly like that. Obviously, I would say the Ruck brothers were pretty good in Medicine Hat, the twins. So that's probably going to help their draft stock because if Medicine Hat moves on to the finals, it's great exposure for them. But I think we can get to this later because look, it was kind of a strange year because look at what happened with Canada, the U18 tournament.
Oh, perfect transition.
Yeah.
They're done.
Yeah, they're done. No medals. No medals. Done in the quarterfinals. Yeah, quite a strange tournament in the sense that the U.S. really, really pounded Sweden 10-1, I think, or 9-1, 10-1 in the preliminary round. And then Sweden beats Canada. U.S. gets beaten by Latvia. I think the key for Canada was that they lost the first game to Czechia 2-1. And that prevented them from facing Denmark in the quarterfinals, which would have pretty much guaranteed them a spot in the Final Four. But if you look at the Final Four now, Latvia, Czechia, Slovakia, and Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay, so no Canada, no US, no Finland. And add this to the fact that the Russians are not participating. So this is weird. But for CHL teams, it's quite interesting because they get to see the 16, 17-year-old European players a little bit longer. And it's very good for the CHL import draft. But for NHL scouts who wanted to see, the U.S. program play a little bit more, and even the Canadian prospects, like Eden Verhoff, play a little bit more, then it's disappointing. But like I said on the last show or last week, I don't put too much stock in that tournament to evaluate players, although I really like Wyatt Cullen for the States.
Yeah.
I said he was, I started saying in the fall that he was kind of my sleeper pick, but now he's less and less of a sleeper pick. Oh, I think his stock is rising right now. He could be a top 15 pick. But if he's a top, let's say he's picked between 10 and 15, I do think that he will outperform his rank of selection. I have him in my top 10.
There you go. Wow.
So this weekend, it's on TV, both semifinals, although I realize that, interest level will not be same without Canada, US, at least one of them but it's good hockey. It's good hockey. But I also realize that fans, have a limited number of hours a day they can watch hockey.
Yeah.
So, but we keep you informed.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll tell you how it goes down. We'll give you all the details here at Trust
because I talk to fans sometimes and they tell me, you should have mentioned that so-and-so was playing on TV. I would have watched. So I do realize that it's a small percentage of people who will watch, Czechia against whatever, Slovakia at 10 in the morning. But some people do want to know.
Yeah.
So that's why we talk about it. And that's why we discuss the U18, although it's quite under the radar in Montreal right now.
Yeah, not exactly at the forefront of many people's priorities.
No.
Snake, there's also the men's world championship.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it gets underway, but the roster
May 15th, I think. I think it's May 15th, around or between the 15th to 20th, I think. Yeah.
But some interesting names have been added to Canada's roster, most notably Gavin McKenna, undrafted, possible first overall, and previous first overall Macklin Celebrini. However, last year's first overall Matthew Schaefer will not be joining that team. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I thought it would have been fun to see Matthew Schaefer, but I guess, he was injured last year and he played a lot this year, so probably that was part of the decision of not going there. Now, will Sidney Crosby go? Could be his last World Championships or so, maybe. He might want to play with Celebrini. Will McDavid go if Edmonton's eliminated tonight? McDavid has gone there before.
Wow.
So, every great player has been to the World Hockey Championships, because at some point, a great player is either misses the playoffs or his team gets eliminated very early. So, Wayne Gretzky went there, Guy Lafleur went there, Mario Lemieux went. I mean, they all went to the World Championships. McDavid, McKinnon. I remember a year where McDavid and McKinnon were together. It was a blast. So I with Celebrini and McKenna, it makes it quite interesting. I like that tournament. It's obviously not the Olympic tournament. What I find interesting about it is that they often bring draft eligible players. So although you can't really lose points, in the scouts' eyes, you can actually help your case.
Because you're going against men.
Yeah, and NHL players.
That's it. Yeah,
actual NHL players, not just men in some country where hockey is not the main sport. Now if you're facing the States, you're facing 20 NHL players.
Yeah.
So or Sweden or Finland in general. So I think McKenna, it's going to be good for him to go. And if he plays very well, it's probably going to cement his place as the number one pick. And if he doesn't play well, I don't think it's going to hurt his stock. He's going 1 or 2, in my opinion. I think he's going 1 or 2, and he should go 1 or 2, because as much as we try to nitpick, and find weaknesses in his game, he's still a top prospect, and he's going to be a good point producer. But probably not the generational talent that we were expecting maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we'll see also. So we'll see who goes to the World Championship. As teams get eliminated, invites will be sent to players. And I know there's another round that might end at the beginning of the championships. And I know that there are some players, they always keep like a few spots, a couple of spots open. So in case other teams get eliminated, because 4 more teams will be eliminated around mid-May, maybe a couple of more players can join. And it makes it, the middle round is pretty interesting. I know there's a lot of games, they play against, there's so many countries playing there. They play, there are some really big mismatches at that World Hockey Championships, but the middle round is interesting. So that's, again, some more good hockey around the time of the Memorial Cup. So there's going to be lots of great hockey in late May. I think
this is the best time for hockey.
It's the best time. But, Shayne, most hockey cities are located in cities where basically it's cold, like 6, 7, 8 months a year. And I think at the end of May, with the sun setting late, it's not the same. I see it with my friends. They love hockey, but at the end of May, they become less interested in the NHL, let alone the World Championships or the Memorial Cup, because it's barbecue season.
Yeah,
which is very short here. So it's too bad. It's too bad, because right now people are watching. It's not
the watch parties are incredible.
Oh yeah, It's warm enough to go outside for these watch parties, but not too warm that you just want to be in the pool.
No, exactly. That's
so I think April is great for hockey in that sense. It just finishes too late. We've discussed it. I mean, Stanley Cup being won, in almost mid-June, and mid-June, this is ridiculous.
Oh, I'm with you there. with you there. Should end in May, but nonetheless, it's exciting stuff. And you are right. The World Championships get underway May 15th in Switzerland. So we're going to keep tabs on that one as well. Again, this is your one-stop shop. If you want to know anything about what's going on in the world of hockey, trust the process has got you covered. Snake, before we move along, a quick word from our partners here at the Sick Podcast who make this show possible. Of course, I want to start off with Cheapest T-shirts, our good friend there. If you are looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. Proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast, they deliver unbeatable value every day. You will always get the cheapest prices, plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. You can enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And a big shout out as well to our friends at Betway, where you can go all the way with Betway and get a deposit match of bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Now, the offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply, The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. I haven't done this in a while, and I'm excited for this one. It's time for Snake's Hot Take. So to put this one in context a little bit, the owner of the Kelowna Rockets, Bruce Hamilton, came up with a bit of a statement recently. And Snake, you have some thoughts on that. So let's bring up the statement first and foremost. He said, I want you here for your full term, talking about the player, right? Why would we spend time and resources developing a player who's just going to leave? I don't want that. If you're not planning to be here long term, then don't come. Ooh.
Yeah, Mr. Hamilton is referring to the fact that junior players are leaving the CHL before the end of their term, which is technically their 19-year-old season. Sometimes you can play until the age of 20, but usually if you're going to be an NHL player, you're going to be gone by the age of 19 because you have an NHL contract and you're going to play in the American Hockey League. But now with the rule change, players can just go from junior hockey to NCAA whenever they feel like. So usually the typical pattern would be that a player plays junior hockey at 16 and 17, maybe 18, depending on if he meets the academic requirements, and then he leaves at the age of 19. So the bread and butter of the CHL is 19-year-old players. This is how you win championships. You have to. So whenever teams are drafting, and I remember when I started scouting for them like a long time ago, 15, 16 years ago, the first thing that they told me is, when you're looking at a 15-year-old midget AAA player, we want to know what he's going to be at 19. Because the 16-year-old player season is usually a development season, unless you're Alexis Joseph, but in general, a 16-year-old player will either go back to midget AAA or will play on the fourth line. The 17-year-old season, if you're good, you're going to be a middle of the lineup player. Again, there are exceptions. Caleb Desnoyers last year was a frontline player, but those are exceptions. Those are guys who are picked in the top 5 in the NHL. And then at the age of 18, then the player starts contributing seriously. And at 19, he's reaching his peak. So if you look at the Boisvert Armada this year, most of their roster is 19 years old. Plus, you have the 20-year-old guys and a few 18-year-old players. I don't think they have any 16, 17-year-old players on their rosters. And if they do, they don't play a lot. So that's one example. Justin Carbonneau supposedly was offered to go to the NCAA this year, but he decided to come back to the Armada. And this is what Mr. Hamilton is referring to. He wants players who are going to be there. And if they commit at 16, you're going to play 4 years here unless you get to the NHL before. I don't want this crap of going to the NCAA at any time, and players are doing it. Gavin McKenna did it for his 18-year-old season. Justin Poirier did it for his 19-year-old season. And a bunch of players are doing it now. Porter Martone left after for his 19-year-old season. And there's a bunch of players doing it this year. Well, here's my take on it, okay? The USHL right now is trying to implement a rule where players who commit to the USHL have to commit for at least 2 years. And I think they were aiming for 3. Because they don't want players to go to the USHL at 16 and then move on to junior hockey at 17 and then move on to the NCAA at 18. They want players for at least 2 years. Well, good luck with this, okay? Good luck with this. Because there are players right now that I'm aware of who wanted to play in the USHL, but once they saw the 2-year rule, let's call it, they backed off and they're going to play junior hockey now. So in Canada. So the USHL is losing players already. If I know it's not going to be a rule in the CHL, but if it's an internal rule for a team, good for them. You can do whatever you want with your team.
Yeah.
but you're going to lose opportunity to get players. And you know what? Once you get a player and he's comfortable in his environment and he sees that you're building something and you have a winning team, he just might stay. You never know. Justin Carbonneau did because he saw the opportunity with Boisvert. So I know the NCAA, and you know what? The NCAA offers money, which junior hockey teams don't. And you can't prevent someone from earning a living somewhere.
No.
Or getting a scholarship. And so you know what? I do get the point. But he tells players, don't come. Okay, they won't come. Let's see.
Interesting strategy.
Let's see if they host a Memorial Cup again in the next 10 years. Or if they reach the Memorial Cup. Because now they're, So, no, I mean, I do work for junior hockey. I do understand where he comes from. And I do think that it would be great if we could get that kind of commitment. But you know what? We won't. You can't dream in Technicolor. So you have to take it more on a year-by-year basis. And you're trying to build with players who you feel will be comfortable enough that they won't leave. And that's the culture you have to try and build. Don't impose things on player. Build something that will make them stay. And they will think twice before they leave right away. Because you know what? They can always go to the NCAA at some point.
Of course.
So
that's interesting wording there.
Yeah. That's my take on it. And like I say, although it would be in an ideal world, it would be fantastic if we could tie up junior players for 4 years, like they do in the pros. But no, it doesn't work that way. But what we can do is do everything we can to make it so good that they'll stay.
That's the correct mindset, not saying, don't come.
Exactly.
I don't know. Seems a little brash.
You don't do that. That's dictatorship.
Yeah. Probably not the best way to go about it. Okay. Great hot take. That was great. I don't even know if it's a hot take, though. I think, I mean, I agree with you. So,
well, he had the hot take, so I
did have the hot take.
Yeah,
I guess. That's one way.
So it was Bruce Hamilton's hot take.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we don't have a graphic for that. We only have a Snake's hot take, but you get the point, guy. That was good. Okay, with that, we're not done because we got to go digging in the mailbag now. We have 3 great questions in the queue today. The first one is coming from Juan Pablo. The Snake likes Philly's game. What's his take on Christian Dvorak? Paid and played a lot.
Yeah, my take is very simple. I think it was an underrated acquisition by Marc Bergevin back in the day. Because he got a late first round pick for Kotkaniemi, if I recall.
Yeah.
And basically he traded it for Christian Dvorak. Christian Dvorak was a star junior hockey player who was expected to be a top 6 player in the NHL. And I think he never reached that level, really, but he was good middle of the lineup player. And I think expectations were a little bit high because of all the Kotkaniemi mess and the center situation in Montreal at the time. Oh, we don't have a number 1 center, blah, blah, blah. Remember, Nick Suzuki was a much younger player back in the day. And I think too much was expected. And Dvorak, there were some times, I think there was one season where he was not very good in Montreal. Yeah. And everybody wanted to kick him out. And then the last season that he played during his free agency year, he was actually good. He was good on the PK.
That line with Anderson and Gallagher.
That line was very good. And I understand that he got paid a lot of money. He got a lot of term from Philly. So if you go back to last summer, you really think twice because before giving as much money to that type of player. However, in Philly, the situation made him at some point the number one center on the team.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's a legit, number one center, but he's a very useful player. And I just think that it was a little bit circumstantial why he didn't stay in Montreal, because I think that had he played in Montreal like that from the get-go, and had he not been part of that Kotkaniemi first-round pick trade, if he had just been acquired, as part of a bunch of transactions and just say, okay, you're the number 3 center, or even the number 2 this year, I think he would have been more appreciated by fans.
Yeah.
So no, he's not a star player, but who knows? Maybe he could have played with Demidov this year. Look, I'm not blaming the Habs for letting him go, because it was a lot of money at the time. But he proved this year that, at least this year, that he was worth the contract that he was given. But again, it was circumstantial. He picked the right team.
Exactly.
To go to. He picked the right team to go to. So sometimes it's not black or white, when you analyze a transaction, and and sometimes it's nobody's fault. It's just circumstantial. So that's my answer for the Vorak.
There you have it. Now, question number 2. Now, this one coming from Zachary Lebel. Snake, what are your thoughts on Pavel Dorofeyev in Vegas? Back-to-back 35-goal seasons for the 25-year-old RFA. He's destined for a big contract this summer, but Vegas has no money, especially if they want to keep Rasmus Anderson. What is your take on this, and could you see him being a good fit with the Habs?
I think Dorofeyev, having had back-to-back seasons, he's not a flash in the pan. I do think that I liked him a lot in his draft year, and I think had he been a Canadian, a CHL player, a junior player in North America, or even in the States, he would have been drafted much higher, because he was a talented guy. So it's not a big surprise how he turned out. He was highly talented. It was probably just the Russian factor that made him a third-round pick. Now, I think it would be a good fit everywhere. The only question is that how do you shuffle the deck? Because we see it during the playoffs. It's all about who plays with whom and in what role do they have. And look at what Martin Selby did yesterday. He changed his lines, and, it really helped. So you shuffle the deck a little bit. So, now, what would I give for this guy? Obviously, it would cost a lot of money, because he's going to be a restricted free agent, but he's going to cost a lot of money, and he's going to a lot of assets. So obviously, you have to think that if the Habs want to get Dorofeyev, they would compete with other teams who would certainly be offering a very good young player or prospect. So I don't know who I would give up for him, because I don't think scoring goals is a problem for the Habs, especially during the regular season. So I think, I would focus my trade assets on other priorities, although I love the player.
Yeah. Snake, we're going to get to trade targets and all that this summer, because there's going to be some trades. I think we can agree on that. There's a guy in Vegas that I did have circled.
Yeah.
And it's not him.
Okay.
And I'll keep it for this summer, because I agree with Zach that they have money troubles.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be up against the cap.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to have to get creative in Vegas, and they might have to cut some
well, they might have, some players might be offer sheeted. Just like St. Louis offer sheeted Broberg and Holloway, because they knew that Edmonton had cap issues.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, June is the best time for trades. Most trades happen between the Stanley Cups being won and the draft, or even July 1st. So that's going to be a great time of year to I'm very curious about your trade target.
I think we're going to see some trades at the draft.
Okay.
And Kent Hughes has loved his trades at the draft. I mean, I think Kirby Dach, Alex Newhook, Noah Dobson, all traded. at the draft. So
I think there's going to be another one this year.
keep an eye on that.
Depending on what happens in the playoffs. Obviously, if the Habs reach the finals, you might want to keep the team more intact, but we'll see.
All right. Last question. This one coming from Mike Hunt. You're not going to get me. I'm not going to say it fast. I know I'm not going to be popular with this, but I really don't like what I'm seeing from Demidov compared to other recruits his age or even younger. Not just in the playoffs, but most of the year too, despite his point total. He has amazing silky hands, but he seems to be a mostly peripheral player and is really easy to shove away from the puck. People are blaming his line mates, but I'd argue plays die as often on his sticks as his line mates. If you compare his shifts with players like Seneca or Martone, which both have less power play time and B-tier line mates, they seem to be making things happen almost every shift. I find them more visible and their style more suitable to become superstars in the making. I'm not saying he's a bust, but I'm starting to worry about his superstar potential. Is Snake worried about the progression of Demidov? Do you think he is being misused? Whoa.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because there was a long preamble to the question, but that preamble was important to know where
it is.
Mike's thinking is, because what struck me is that almost at the same time as Mike wrote that question, a friend of mine told me the exact same thing. Yeah. Play dying on a stick and et cetera, et cetera. And I said, okay. And here's what I told my friend, and I'm going to tell Mike today. I do understand Mike's concerns. I do see the same thing as Mike does. And I get all this. However, Demidov's a rookie. And I know, so is Seneca, so is Martone. But the rookie season, I don't put too much stock into it because it's more like the second or third season that matter to me. The first year, you're just getting acquainted with the league. And that's why if you, on bearing exceptions, most rookie of the year award winners, they get 60 points. That's often not the peak of their career. Look at Macklin Celebrini. Let's say Macklin Celebrini had won last year. Had he played 10 games more and maybe gotten like 70 points or something. The Macklin Celebrini, or whether he wins or not, is not the thing. Is that Macklin Celebrini this year became a superstar. Macklin Celebrini last year played well. Yeah. Was very good, but he was a rookie. And we could have like dissected his game and say, well, there's this and there's that. But this year it's like, wow, he really took charge. Now, Demidov, I know it's an excuse, but Demidov not being a centerman, he will rely on a centerman to make plays for him. Every winger, as good as they are, rely on a good centerman. And he did not have a playmaking centerman. He playing with Kapanen. Kapanen
pure finisher
is a pure finisher. That's all. He's a winger finisher. And they put this guy with a guy who was, in terms of playmaking, he was arguably one of the worst number 2 centers in the league in terms of playmaking. I know he scored 22 goals. I get all this. But it was not an ideal situation for Demidov. He was very, very good when he was with Slavkovsky for that brief period of time. But Slavkovsky is a winger also. I think the guy
sort of played like a center almost.
He sort of played like a center. I think Demidov just needs like a little bit more experience. He needs to be a center. Now, will he become a superstar? Depends on your definition of superstar. I thought Demidov could be a 90-point player. Is 90-point player a superstar or a star? I think it's all about how you define superstar. How many superstars are there in the league? 5, 10, 15?
It's subjective,
it's
right?
Very
it
subjective.
Depends what you think a superstar is.
Yeah, it's like saying generational, franchise player, superstar, star, Very good.
Words.
I mean, there's so many tiers, when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if Demidov, I see Demidov as a 90-point player, year in, year out. And so that depends. Does Mike consider a 90-point player a superstar?
Yeah.
Look, Demidov's career is only beginning. A lot of Habs players will be retired when Demidov is like 27, 28. And some of them will have left. Some of them will have been traded. So we'll see with whom he ends up playing in the long term. But to me, this year, it was just a rookie year. He got his feet wet. He played well. He's probably going to be a top 3. He's going to be nominated in the top 3. And about Seneca, I absolutely love Beckett Seneca. I had him ranked right after Demidov in the draft last year. Okay, he was number 4 on my list. And I love seeing him. I saw him play live many times this year because I even went to California to see the Ducks because I like the Ducks. I know I criticized the Ducks a little bit, and I think there's one listener who mentioned it to me, but I like the Ducks, okay? Yeah. I'm just being objective now because I see what they need to do to become an elite team, and I would love for them to become an elite team, but I'm not, I'm not blind. I mean, I see things that I don't like, but I also see things I like a lot. And Beckett Seneca, I like a lot. However, yes, he does create things, but he's another winger who I don't think drives play that much. Okay, he needs a centerman too. And Beckett Seneca, in the, I would say the last third of the season, he was not as good as at the beginning. So he too will probably be in the top 3 for Rookie of the Year. I think it'll be Schaefer, Demidov, and Seneca, whichever order.
Most
probably
likely.
Schaefer number 1, Seneca, Demidov 2 or 3. Honestly, my wild card is Jimmy Snuggerud. I think Jimmy Snuggerud played very well. He was sneaky good this year, and he's a tough guy, good second line player. Now, is Snuggerud, and that's just to conclude on Demidov, although Snuggerud this year, I think is very close to Demidov, in terms, I don't see much difference between those two this year. But I do think that Demidov has a much higher ceiling. Correct. So that's what I mean with rookies. Snuggerud, I think, will not have a career as good as Demidov and Seneca's. But this year, I think it was very, very close between Snuggerud, Demidov, and Seneca. And at some point, after a few years, you will see a gap. Yeah, the gap will be growing, just like it does with every player. But the first year, don't put too much stock into it. However, Mike, I did see what you saw, and so did my buddy, and it's an interesting conversation to have.
If Mike, assuming he's a longtime Habs fan, I think it's just PTSD talking here. Like the amount of promising prospects that came in through the Habs system and ultimately amounted to nothing. At some point it accumulates and it stays in the back of your head. And every time you see, a high upside prospect, then you're always going to question it. And you're going to pick up on these things that Mike mentioned. But Mike, this player is different. I think Snake and I can agree on that. He's going to be fine. He's going to be really good. Give him a proper center. Watch him play. He's going to be good. Again, rookie season, 20-year-old in North America. There's a lot of changes, a lot of new things that he had to learn. New language. I mean, it's not easy for him. So give him some time. You'll see it next year. He's going to be something else. Trust me on that one. Yeah.
One last thing I want to mention is that, and I fall for that too. Very often we have a tendency to judge 18, 19, 20-year-old players based on what exceptional megastars do. So if you look at Schaefer and Celebrini, obviously every other 18, 19-year-old player in the world doesn't look good. They're all busts. I remember, during the season, there were people who were calling me out saying Trevor Connolly is a bust. Well, of course, if you look at Macklin Celebrini, who's the same age, of course there's a big gap. But come on, a bust at 19?
He was he was picked in like the middle of the first round.
Yeah, but there's something, Shayne, that I've noticed. There are two things that hockey fans are very impressed with. A guy who steps into the NHL and becomes an impact player right away, like, Celebrini, let's say, Matthew Schaefer, and a guy who dominates junior hockey. And that's the thing. So when you're thinking about, let's say, I'll take Michael Misa, for example. Okay? Michael Misa had a difficult first half of season with San Jose. Second half was okay. He's coming out of his shell. But for the casual fan, look at Michael Misa this year and not taking into consideration that he's 18 years old. He might say, well, he's the number 2 pick. He's not even close to Matthew Schaefer, which is true. But had Michael Misa gone back to the Ontario Hockey League, he would have gotten 170 points. Then he would be a super top prospect. And he went to the World Junior Championships, and he wasn't very good. So it's kind of cemented the idea that, Michael Misa's not that good. So I think the benchmarks used sometimes by observers is kind of like, I wouldn't say weird, but I would say I think everything should be analyzed on a case-by-case basis. And the further away a player is at a young age, it doesn't matter what his production is that he's in the NHL or is in the American Hockey League. Because anybody can stay in junior hockey or NCAA hockey for like 3, 4, 5 years and put numbers on the board. But if you reach the NHL or the American Hockey League as a teenager, well, that's quite a feat. And then we take it from there. So Demidov was 19 years old when he started the season. I think he turned 20 in December. So that's it.
That's it.
We'll see you guys Monday.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you for the questions, because last show we didn't get any. So we like this segment. We like the mailbag. We like answering your questions and getting your perspectives, because sometimes they're completely different from ours. And we love that. So that's it for us today. Again, we're back on Monday to talk more Habs, more Laval Rocket, whatever happens this weekend. We're going to break it down on Monday. For Simon the Snake Boisvert, thank you to producer Jimmy. I'm producer Shayne. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. See you Monday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.